Thank you for joining us today for another exclusive interview sponsored by Immovet. Help your horses reach their maximum potential with Immovet's line of natural homeopathic products. I'm your host today, Aurélien Drumian. Today, we are honored to speak with Sheila Laxon, a groundbreaking figure in the world of thoroughbred racing and the first female trainer to secure the prestigious Cups double with her mare, Ethereal, in 2001. Now a two-time Melbourne Cup winner, Sheila has once again captured the racing world's attention with nice choices, her latest champion and a freak horse, as she likes to call him. Join us as Sheila shares her journey, insights into her unique training techniques, and plans for nice choice, including the potential for an international campaign. Stay tuned for an inspiring conversation with a true racing legend. Beautiful to have you here, Sheila.
Oh, it's lovely to be invited to talk to you. I'm really
Excellent.
thrilled with that.
So, first of all, from your early days on a farm in Wales to becoming a dual Melbourne Cup winning trainer, what's been the key to your success in understanding thoroughbreds?
I think it's just been my love of horses. I started riding before I can remember, and I love show jumping, and I used to ride out for the local trainer as well when I from 12 years older on, and so I guess I just horses were part of my life, and you just start to understand what a horse needs, individual treatment and all the specifics. And I guess my education in England with race horses has really helped me come to New Zealand and to Australia because I use a lot of the stuff I learned in England and carry on training quite differently to most other trainers.
Excellent. You've previously mentioned that Knight Choice never expands any energy and didn't blow after the cup. When did you first realize you might have quite an exceptional horse on your hands?
Well, I think when he won the Winx Guineas as adamantly as he did, and again, as I say, he comes back to the birdcage and he's not blowing at all. That is really unusual for a horse not to be under any sort of pressure. And I said to John at the time, he could win the Melbourne Cup because he just relaxes so much, and that's a real important component of racing in the Melbourne Cup. And then he ran second in the Q22, which was a weight for age race against a lot of international horses. And the first two horses won quite conclusively that day. And again, he didn't blow. So he is a bit of a freak in that respect because I've never had a horse that doesn't blow after they run. And he just seems to be so fit and must have an incredible lung capacity.
That is amazing. That's pretty exciting. The Dubai World Cup invitation is on the table. What factors will you and John consider when mapping out, Knight's Choice international campaign?
Well, he needs to go. I mean, he needs to go somewhere where they're going to have firm tracks. In Dubai, they have good tracks. But I do recall, was it last year that it was wet? You had quite a bit of rain, was it last year?
Yeah, it
Which
does
surprised
happen
me.
actually in
But
June
wherever
sometimes.
he goes, it needs to, sorry.
No, it happens sometimes. Yeah.
So he needs, yes, yes. Like everybody dismissed his chances in the Melbourne Cup this year because he had to have those runs on wet tracks, and I mean, he was way down the track in every race because he doesn't handle them. So it's quite important that when we look at where we go, the chances of the track being dry.
For sure.
And that's going to be quite important. But obviously, I'd love to go to Dubai. My son worked in Dubai for quite some time, and I went to the races up there when I was staying with him. So, I love what they do in Dubai. It's so upmarket, and it's so no expense is spared in making sure the horses have the right preparation and things like that. So, no, it would be an honor to go up there, and I'll certainly push it when we're going to have a meeting in a couple of weeks about where we go with him and what we do with him, but that's certainly on the agenda.
Excellent, excellent. Dubai is definitely an incredible place, especially for this kind of industry. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yes, because I was invited up there with Ethereal, but the owners eventually decided to go for the BMW, and they were planning on going for the Arc de Triomphe, but they decided after she won the BMW that they were going to retire her, which was a bit sad because I'd love to go on to the Arc de Triomphe as well. But I really enjoyed my week in Dubai, and would love to contest the race up there. That would be magnificent.
For sure. You've experienced Melbourne Cup success both as a track rider with Empire Rose in 1988 and now twice as a trainer. How has this comprehensive perspective shaped your training philosophy?
Well, it's I do believe a horse that can sprint can you can train them to stay because you can get them relaxed and not expending any energy on the way round. And then if you can have that beautiful sprint that they can win a 1200-meter race with, I think you can be very, very competitive.
Wow, excellent. Nitros has shown remarkable adaptability. He has traveled to Sydney twice in a week. How important is this, temperament when considering international targets like, may potentially Dubai, I guess?
Well, they've got to be able to travel well within themselves, and he loves being a showpiece and everybody running around after him, and he thrives on that. So that's why he's the sort of horse you could take anywhere in the world, and
Wow.
and he'd be competitive because he just loves being the center stage. You should have seen him the day after the Melbourne Cup when all the media came out. He would have stood on that lawn for about an hour just preening. And it's important to encourage that so they love being the center of attention, and horses do know they do glow in that attention, I'll tell you.
Wow, amazing. You do tend to credit your team a lot, especially, Ryder Ellie, for educating horses to sprint off the mark. Can you maybe elaborate a bit more on how this specific training approach contributed to the Cup victory?
Well, yes, because having I was a jockey when I was younger, and I was very aware that you travel in the bunch of the horses, and as soon as a gap opens, you've got to teach your horse to take advantage of that and really sprint off the mark. And so I used to spend quite a bit of time just doing that with them, just having them accelerate quickly and then come back to you because again, that's important. They
Mhm.
need not, they mustn't expend any energy during the race apart from when you ask them to quicken. So you don't want them pulling, you want them to travel sweetly off the bridle and just be there ready to go whenever the gap opens or you need to start moving forward to be in the finish of the race. So the education that your riders give them is very, very important.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Also, the fact that, you used to be a jockey and now a trainer, I feel like being able to understand different aspect um, is definitely a plus.
Of course, and that's exactly right. And you've got to be able to assess your horse. And as soon as he won the Winx Skinnies, and I saw him relax like he did and accelerate like he did, straight away I started dreaming of Melbourne Cups again. Um, and if you can get that horse that's got that great breathing capacity and able to travel, really happily,
Mhm.
you're nearly there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The handicap range was compressed this year in the Melbourne Cup. How does this influence your thoughts, about a potential title defense with nice choice next year?
Well, yes, it's disappointing to see how the handicap has really sort of become much closer than it used to be. I mean, I can remember when, I don't know whether the top weight used to be 61, 62 kilos and the bottom weight 46 kilos. And that's a real to handicap, then it gives the um the horse that's coming in fresh and new a big advantage.
True.
Um, but with it compressed like it is, it sort of takes the advantage of handicapping away a little bit. It's more weight for age type of racing, which I think's sad. I'd love to see the handicap open up a bit, and I guess it's because they say you don't get the lightweight jockeys anymore. But to
Mm,
compensate for that, you need to put the top weights up a bit more, so you still get the handicap range.
sure.
And I'd love them to do that and not have them so compressed, because they might as well be weight for age in that, if you keep doing that. So I'd love to see the old handicap regime come back into force, and we have a handicap range to accommodate, how good the horses are. But however, saying that, maybe next year he won't get too much weight for having won last year, this year rather. So maybe it'd play him to our advantage next year.
Let's hope so, indeed.
Mhm.
You've previously drawn comparison between, Knight's Choice and Legends like Wings, Farlap. What qualities do you think he share with these champions that, makes such a comparison possible?
Well, I guess he's such an athlete,
Mhm.
and he can accelerate quickly and go run a quick time over a pretty good distance. And that's what they got, they have to do to be totally competitive all the time. Um, but Winks was a freak, and I think being a gelding is a bit of a disadvantage, because the fillies get a big weight advantage all the time, so they can be competitive over a longer period of time. Whereas when you're a gelding, that's probably why you don't see the geldings do what the fillies can do, like Black Caviar, like Winks, because they're fillies and mares. They get a weight advantage the whole time against the colts and geldings. Um, and I hope they never change that, because it's a huge advantage to have fillies and mares. And of course, they do that so they go to the broodmare paddock. So it does make it harder for a gelding to have that sort of run of luck that the fillies and mares have.
Fair
But I'm
point.
hoping that he might be a freak, and that he can be competitive as the weights go up a little bit. And that's what amazed me in the Q22. He went in at weight for age, and he was, he ran second. He was really competitive against the internationals in his first foray into the weight for age races. And I was amazed that he did that, because he's not very big, and you sort of think, well, if they're carrying um set weights, it's going to make it really hard when you're against bigger, stronger horses, but it doesn't seem to worry him.
Wow, excellent. Looking back at your journey, from working with John Dunlop in Sussex to winning your second Melbourne Cup, what advice would you give to aspiring female trainers looking to make, their mark into this sport?
Look, it's a great sport because women can be as good as men. And if you try hard and love what you're doing, I mean, I just love horses, and I love that being my, main work ethic. And for any woman wanting to do it, hey, we can do it. We can do it. And you probably will never find another trainer that can have two runs in the Melbourne Cup for two wins. And maybe I should leave it at that. I shouldn't go and chase another one. But um, women can do it, and women have more empathy with horses, I think, probably than men. They've got a different way of treating horses. They sort of ask them to do what they want them to do, whereas men sort of, just because they're men, I suppose, they tend to tell horses what to do. And a lot of horses, if you ask them, they really try very hard. So I think it's a great sport for women to take up, and a great work to to follow for their the livelihood. Is I've been very lucky, and I really appreciate the luck I've had with the horses I've had. But look, any of the girls can do it.
Excellent, excellent. I'd like to have a few more questions regarding especially the woman in that kind of industry. Um, so how do you think the landscape changed for women in racing over these, 2 decades?
Enormously, enormously. I can remember going to the Melbourne Cup when Empire Rose won in 1988, and I actually wasn't allowed over the white line they used to have there.
Wow.
And it was really chauvinistic. And I think, coming from New Zealand, I found it very chauvinistic in Australia compared
Mhm.
to New Zealand, because New Zealand was much more on a level playing field.
Wow.
So yes, I mean, and I can remember the trainer I worked for in England. when he found out, because when I was a jockey, I started out in jumps racing over steeplechase fences and things,
Mhm.
and I happened to bump into him in Cambridge in New Zealand one day, and he came back to the the stables where we were, and he was quite adamant that it's not a job for girls. You shouldn't be riding in races,
Oh,
and
wow.
that was what it was like, back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So it's come a long way, and women are just as good as men, if not better, in some instances because of their association with a horse. They've got a different mannerism in asking horses to do their best, and it's a real level playing field, and it's a great sport for women to be involved with. Mind you, saying that, I'm just amazed at how the women play football and rugby now.
Well, that's very
They're
true
just
as well.
amazing, and cricket.
That's very true indeed.
So women are taking over the world.
Exactly. That's true. Which is
Mm.
good, which is good. It needs to.
Yeah, yeah, he says. Uh,
You shattered a significant barrier, with Ethereal in 2001. What were the biggest challenges you faced as a female trainer, trying to establish yourself in, like you mentioned it, what was then a very male-dominated industry?
yes, well, I was really lucky in that Laurie went to Singapore to train, and I was very, very lucky that Peter and Philip Vella left the horses with me just to see if I'd sink or swim. And I had the most amazing hit rate with the horses winning and things. And that sort of made it a good springboard for me to carry on and go to the Melbourne Cup with Ethereal. And so I was really lucky in that respect that I'd done the hard yards. I'd seen Empire Rose win. I used to ride at work. I sort of tasted all the things you had to do to get a horse ready. Laurie was an amazing teacher, and I've just worked out my own policy of what I want to do with the horses on the way through, and it seems to work.
It does. It did. Definitely. So you then won the Fred Oisted Award for outstanding training performance. How important was that recognition, in validating women's capabilities in thoroughbred training?
Look, that was quite amazing because that was an Australian award, and I was, of course, a New Zealander. Um, and everybody was aghast that I actually got it
Hmm.
because I was a New Zealander, and I probably wasn't.
Interesting.
Um, I didn't really understand the significance of it, but of course I do now, and that was huge. And again, it was a big step for women that you can get an award like that in the racing industry. So that was a big plus and a big step up the ladder. And I've been very lucky. I just pinched myself. I'm still pinching myself after the other day. That it all came together like it did, and I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky to have trained the horses I have, and we've had all the luck on the day that our jockey Robbie Dolan first riding the Melbourne Cup, and he just went on instinct, and he went through the gaps like they weren't there, and it's fabulous to see him come past up to the post first. It really was.
Excellent. And now, as you mentioned that, you're planning international campaign with Knight's Choice, do you feel a responsibility to continue opening doors for other female trainers on the global stage?
Oh yes, I love a challenge.
Mhm.
So so anything that I can do, I'd yeah, anything that I can do that can open the gates to women doing anything in the racing industry is a real big plus for me.
That's great. That's very understandable. Training partnerships are becoming more and more common in racing. How has your partnership with John Simons evolved, and what advantages has it brought to your operation?
Well, it's quite interesting because he had a stallion or a colt called Bella Spree, who was he won his first six starts in group and listed races. Um, and John's got the most amazing eye for a horse. So he can pick a yearling and he knows it's an athlete and it's going to be really competitive, irrelevant of whether they might have some issues that other people think that they don't want to buy the horse because of that. I think he paid 9,000 for Bella Spree,
Wow.
and he got Kevin Sheedy, who's a great footy coach. involved with him. So that was a brilliant fairy tale on its own. But John has got the most amazing eye for picking a yelling athlete, and nearly everyone he's picked has been very, very good. He picked this Knight's Choice. We trained the mother, and Extreme Choice. I think that was one of his first crops, so nobody knew how obviously good he was going to become. And he, in actual fact, is only the second sire to win a Golden Slipper and a Melbourne Cup. Would you believe that? Sir
Wow.
Tristram was the other one. So, but John's got this incredible ability, but he loves galloping them. I don't. So we sort of get a balance between the two,
Excellent.
and he actually let me work out the work plan with Knight's Choice most of the time, because I think he thought, well, I never galloped Ethereal, and he couldn't believe that I didn't gallop a horse and she could win the Melbourne Cup. So he tends to let me go when it comes to staying races about what I want to do with them.
Fair enough. That's great. It is, as we mentioned earlier, it's very much of a team effort, partnership efforts. It involves a lot of different people for sure.
Oh, it certainly does. I mean, we've got the team back home in Sunshine Coast, and they've had four winners while we've been away. They've done exceptionally
Wow.
well, and it's great to be able to get away and know, be very confident that they're going to, do what they've got to do up there. And I'm very lucky to have Trudy Collett come on board, and she used to ride for me in New Zealand, and she's come over to join her daughter in Queensland, and so she's taken it, by the operation by the years, and is just running it as if she's doing it herself. And it's great to have that team behind you, that you've got faith in what they do, and you're quite happy to leave decisions about what you want the horses to do to them. So we're very lucky in that respect to have a backup like that back home.
Mhm. Having achieved what many consider, a career pinnacle twice now, what drives you to take on international challenges like the Dubai World Cup rather than maybe, take a step back?
Oh, look, as I say, I love challenges. And to
That's
be
good.
able to go up there, we took Ethereal's mum to the Hong Kong Cup, and she won that. So it's
Oh,
doable. You can do it. And again, she didn't used to gallop much. We used to just do a lot of conditioning work with her. And I was the first female track rider in Hong Kong at that time, would you believe? That's
wow.
how things have changed.
Incredible.
Um, so, it's fantastic to have the opportunity to go um, to other countries and take your training regime there and be able to perform. So yeah, I now want to Melbourne Cups. Let's go to the world and see what we can do. With a horse like him, he's only young, so it's a great opportunity, and I love sort of seeing how things are done differently and working out how best I can utilize what training facilities they've got in those different places and make it work for me.
Excellent. And who knows, maybe become an image for other women in that country and, to get into the industry and do something for
Oh,
themselves.
that'd be lovely. I'd love for what I do, to encourage other girls and ladies to think, hey, we can do this, and we might have a whole world of aspiring women doing wonderful things.
Exactly, exactly. You've mentioned previously that you were potentially planning to retire after this Melbourne Cup. What is it about Knight's choice that's, compelling enough to potentially delay those plans?
Well, I suppose the world's your oyster. He did that so effortlessly and brilliantly ridden by Robbie Dolan. I mean, I take my hat off to him. That was the most sensational ride of all time. But when you've got those ingredients, oh, you've got to explore them. I couldn't not go the extra yards with them, and to go to Dubai or something like that would be phenomenal.
Definitely.
And so that's exciting, to have those sort of um, offers made available to you. You'd be crazy not to take them up, quite
That
honestly.
is very true. That is very true.
Mm.
Passion, I'm sure the passion is there and, adventure as well. And not knowing maybe also is a part of it, I would imagine.
Yes, absolutely. It's new ground, and
Exactly.
unless you try it, you don't know, what the result could be. And I always like the good results.
Very true. And finally, on to the last question. Looking at the next generation of female trainers coming through, what changes would you still like to see in this racing industry, to ensure equal opportunities?
Look, I think they're pretty equal now. I'm just amazed. I think if a girl wants to go and do something, the opportunity is there, and if you're good enough, you'll get there. And I really, really do believe that. I can remember, um, I really, as a kid, I really wanted to ride in races. I saw National Velvet, and that was my dream. And I tried to get my license in England. I tried to get my license in Cyprus. I went to New Zealand, and I sort of got the license the next day because I suppose because there was only 3,000 people living in New Zealand, anybody who wants to do anything over there got the opportunity because there wasn't much competition. And that was a great grounding for me, is that, I could do anything and I could do what I'd wanted to do. And I rode in races and loved them. And then I took up training, and it's just been fantastic for me. And I know that other girls can do the same thing. If they're passionate about what they do, they love horses, um, they can be just as successful as me, and more so.
For sure.
The world's your oyster.
That's very true. That's very true. Well, thank you very much, Sheila, for joining us today. That was great. I hope you enjoyed
My
it.
pleasure. I hope I inspire some girls to
I hope so too.
follow
I
their
hope so too.
dreams.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your sunny day, I would imagine, in Melbourne.
I will, and you too. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.